Now, Eric tells me he's not the only one to thank here, of course, with their unnamed neighbor who wants to remain anonymous, and then two other men who were bystanders that came in to help as well. They actually have no idea who those men were. And I actually approached her at her door right there. That's her daycare out of her home, and she denied that she knew that any of this happened. Follow this story, including the city and police department's response to these demands for you. I'm going to step out of the scene right here to show you what's going on. It all started when the man slashed his neighbor's tires, and then when he was confronted, he chased them with a knife. The cause of the fire, this meat smoker right here. And for the family that lives in the front part of the house, the only thing that remained today was this sign. Had the players stay and get tested every day and follow protocols, or to go home and kind of be without their rules and the testing. To wear a hat if it's really sunny. You know, what do you guys think about this one? His friends and loved ones are here sharing an emotional moment as they release balloons in his honor. Mitch McConnell, who has really been pushing and urging President Trump to endorse you, which he didn't. Behind me, a massive sewer system that simply could not handle the amount of rainfall that Topeka got that day. The water actually reached up to 3.5 feet right here on this very street. And for Peggy Welsh, who's shorter than me, she thought it was her last day. A Northeast Kansas family business wants people to celebrate what makes us all different. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Saberi. The family asking for respect of businesses who require wearing a mask even after city or county leaders choose to let the mandates expire. Fanny Fang grew up in Manhattan, Kansas, her family moving to the Little Apple in 1997.
The reason why they chose to settle down here in Riley County is because it reminded them of home.
When the pandemic began, Mama Fang's was one of the first businesses to self-impose their mask mandate, having seen the troubles of the pandemic firsthand back in China. A year later, Fang says the last 2 weeks have brought multiple instances of hateful outbursts from customers shopping without masks.
It is our right to set policies that we feel will protect you and protect our employees.
In one instance, a woman called her a communist and threw their products all over the ground, storming out and recording the storefront to publicize her experience. Another woman telling her,
I have been here longer than you.
While she hopes that these instances were not racially motivated, she says she still keeps her guard up, especially after recent instances of Asian hate around our nation.
The first step to any change is to believe the severity in which we're articulating these stories to you.
Her family has since filed criminal trespass against multiple people.
I feel very much loved by this community, but even though I feel that love, I do want people to understand that this happens even here in Kansas. It's not something that just happens in New York City, LA, or Chicago.
The trauma is still the same. Yeah, the night of her murder, her 16-year-old son was at work. He came home to find her body, and then a few days later, via a neighbor's security camera, he identified the killer as his best friend. Dylan and Sydney virtually look like twins despite their 3-year age difference, and have a striking resemblance to their mother, Hester Workman, who was murdered on April 25th. They've asked me not to show their faces for both privacy and safety.
I was here like 2 hours beforehand, and then I went to my dad's house, and Dylan was at work.
Yeah, I was at work when it happened, and then I came home and found her.
They'll remember her for her many quirks.
The last time we put all the ornaments on it was like 7 years ago.
This Christmas tree hasn't moved since then.
If she had a gift card for her birthday, she would almost never spend it on herself. She would insist on spending it on other people.
Trying to find some relief, a distraction from the loss of his mother, whose life ended at the hands of his 16-year-old best friend, Amadeus Bayou Meyer.
I hung out with Amadeus the day after it happened, and he hugged me and told me he couldn't imagine what it was like to lose a parent. This man's been to my house like 3 days a week for months. And then the next day I watched that video footage, and it was him running down the street with a baseball bat from my closet over there.
Rather than going to him, he went straight to police, and he's still grappling with why.
My mom worked hard for me and my sister every day, and I guess I didn't really appreciate that until after I couldn't anymore.
Now, their mother treated them to a vacation every summer, and one of her wishes was for her babies to see the ocean, and that was finally going to happen this summer. They tell me that they hope that they'll be able to make it and be there seeing the ocean for the first time with her in spirit. Now, Bayou Meyer's next court date is June 28th, and the district attorney plans to try him as an adult. He's facing a murder charge. A local neighborhood has a new tradition, a positive outcome of the pandemic, and their neighbors want to thank the man who made life just a little bit better during a sad time. Sue Boley and Christy Stewart often meet up at the hedges that divide them.
The city was so quiet.
For a chat in their central Topeka neighborhood.
And the only thing that we really heard was that we're close to the hospital and the helicopter bringing patients in. And so it was that combination of hearing that helicopter come over like 10 times or more a day.
That is until the pandemic drew new lines between people, keeping them inside those of their own property.
We were all in our houses and, of course, afraid to come out.
Their neighbor Steve Bergstrom created a reason for them to come outside.
As soon as the bells would start ringing, you just see people start pouring out and sitting on their stoops and their porches. And it was just that ray of hope that there is still something outside our door.
The Carolyn for Westminster Presbyterian Church sits here next to Boswell Park and carries for blocks into these streets that were once so quiet.
They were just really beautiful to hear when the world was so scary.
Bergstrom walked to church every day to conduct his electronic symphony from this box. It started as just church bells.
Scheduling a regular, everyday mini concert was basically what it evolved into over time.
And it's not just sacred music that you would expect.
So New York's even on that list. My favorite things, the music from The Sound of Music is on there.
The pandemic isn't over yet, and neither are his plans. Even after this international health emergency is over.